What's going on, everyone? We are looking at another red day here. The market in general is relatively red. Bitcoin miners are pretty much red across the board. Bitcoin's down a bit. We do have some economic data that released today, and we do have some Bitcoin news I want to talk about. Now, I've showed you guys this before. This is WGMI. This doesn't have all of the Bitcoin miners, but I like to just glance at it to give me an idea of what's going on. Besides just looking at my WEBULL watch list, which has all of the miners I watch. But you'll see that on the WGMI heat map, pretty much everything is red. I personally think this is still a good time to buy WGMI outright or buy your favorite Bitcoin mining stocks. If you're fully packed, this is a pretty rough day. But if you are looking to load up, if you saw last week's run and you're kind of catching FOMO, these are the days you want. Nice little dip buy opportunities. Here's something that to me is a little bit alarming. Existing home sales fall to the lowest level in 14 years. October 2010. Sales of existing homes fell in September as house hunters remained on the fence about buying a home despite mortgage rates easing. Now, to be fair, this is kind of still the early phases of mortgage rates easing, so hopefully in the coming months this improves and we don't see a lowest level in 15 years, 16 years, and so on. Major factors have been lack of inventory, escalating prices, and elevated mortgage rates, of course, but that is set to change as the Fed cuts rates. Mortgage rates hit the lowest level since February of 2023. Still very high though in comparison to the norm, but we will see where things go over the next couple of rate cuts. I do think this will help mortgage rates a lot, and I will be looking to refinance as well. Now, we did finally break our streak of inflows. On Monday, we actually saw inflows despite Bitcoin pulling back, which was kind of interesting. That wasn't the case yesterday though. Bitcoin pulled back a little bit more, and we did see some outflows from the spot Bitcoin ETFs yesterday, breaking a 7-day streak. Now, here's an article putting the spot Bitcoin ETFs in a different light, giving you kind of a larger picture. What's been going on? And that was, of course, news of what happened yesterday. This was a few days old, but in reality, the number is probably higher now because of the other days we have seen last week that were very good. The 11 US spot Bitcoin ETFs now hold more than 950,000 Bitcoin. Soon it will be 1 million, not very long from now. BlackRock's IBIT now has 22.4 billion in inflows, followed by Fidelity with over 10 billion in positive inflows. And then of course we have Bitwise's BitB, ARK21 shares, around 5 billion in cumulative net inflows. However, of course, we have GBTC with their net outflows of 20 billion, but you will realize that overall the inflows more than make up for it. And if you weigh in all exchange traded products, meaning globally, not just our spot Bitcoin ETFs, but ETFs, ETPs, exchange traded products across the world, it's actually 1.2 million Bitcoin held in these, different ETPs. But of course, as mentioned here, the US is the most dominant player. And North America is responsible for 22.5% of global crypto activity, with an on-chain value of 1.3 trillion. Now, I'm going to go over IREN in a minute. I want to talk about Iris Energy. It does look like we just got rejected at a resistance level, but let's look at this first. Bitcoin mining difficulty hits an all-time high. Bitcoin is the only crypto out there where the price actually follows the hash rate. Other cryptos, the Bitcoin miners jump in because of the price going up. The Bitcoin miners see Bitcoin more as a long game. They know over the long term, Bitcoin is the crypto to be in. Hash rate can rise despite the price even falling. We had a 3.9% jump in difficulty, which was the 13th positive adjustment in 2024. And once this 365 SMA total miner revenue is claimed, this typically coincides with bull runs in Bitcoin. And what they're referring to is this purple line here. Once this is reclaimed, you'll see that when we break above it, we do get a huge rally. When we break above it, huge rally ensues. Once we break above this, do we see our next huge leg up? Possibly. The difficulty has jumped 27% year to date. And from November 2023 to July 2024, we saw over 30,000 Bitcoin leave miner wallets, one of the longest distribution periods from miners on record. However, we can now observe that since July, balances have been relatively flat, show signs of accumulation, telling us remaining miners on average can handle this new environment. I mean, let's face it, Bitcoin is so close to getting these Bitcoin miners back to profitability. It is around 10% last I checked from all-time high. It might be a little more now, but these Bitcoin miners are not far from being profitable. When Bitcoin was 50, 60,000 post halving, that's definitely a little farther from profitability. We really don't need much of a move for these Bitcoin miners to post a profitable quarter for this year's end. October, November, and December. If November and December we see a huge spike in Bitcoin, we still have some of October left. But if we see Bitcoin higher in price, not even much higher, just like 10% higher in price for the majority of November and December, I would argue that a lot of these Bitcoin miners are in fact going to post profitability. In their upcoming earnings, they will post guidance for profitability. This earnings coming up, many Bitcoin miners are about to report in a month, 2 months or so, and I expect them to be unprofitable, as throughout this quarter that they're getting out of, that they just got out of, Bitcoin was anywhere from 49 to like 60, 70K. Pretty much unprofitable for them the whole entire time. But anyways, continuing on, Bitcoin bull runs and surging miner revenue coincide. As price increases, so does mining revenue. On a 7-day moving average, the total dollar mining revenue is over 35 million, an increase of over 10 million since the September low. But this is one thing to look out for, that 365 SMA. Once we climb above it, this has shown a Bitcoin bull run, as I showed you guys a minute ago. So once we see this price, the orange I should say, break over this purple, typically we see a rally like I showed you guys here. Once we break over, it's boom time. Once we break over, boom time. This is just one indicator. Now looking at IREN, the Bitcoin miners collectively are falling today. This is an opportunity to buy if you're not fully packed already, in my opinion. I think IREN still has plenty of upside. I think we may come down. We are kind of creating a rising wedge, which is actually a bearish pattern. You could argue that I have this placed a little wrong, though. I mean, it's up to interpretation. Maybe it's more of an ascending channel, which is better, much better. But either way, keep an eye on, you could put 2 if you want. See how the market reacts to either. You don't have to just set one line up. But you want to see how these do. Do we hold support here right around $8 and bounce, break out of this 950, better yet the psychological 10, which has previously brought a nice rally, a nice roughly 50% run additionally. Once we broke that 10, it has been a previous resistance, as well as 950, and we just got rejected here. So keep an eye on IREN. I think once we break 10, we're off to the races again. I think that's an important resistance to break for IREN. And last time we did it, we did rally like a 50% move very quickly. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but if IREN breaks 10 on a breakout for Bitcoin, if Bitcoin, for example, breaks all-time high, IREN breaks that 10, we are probably going to go parabolic there. It is a matter of breaking this strong resistance. But in general, I do expect IREN to continue filling out its overall bullish, longer term, broadening pattern. There are a lot of Bitcoin miners with this pattern. The ones that are showing this pattern, in my opinion, are some of the obvious, most easy to trade, most easiest to follow. BTBT has a similar pattern, but look for miners with easy to follow patterns, buy the supports, and ride it on up. I think by the end of it all, from bottom to top, IREN will probably at the very least do a 20x, meaning from $1 to $20. It might even do more. Some people are saying I am very conservative with this. I'd rather be conservative and have it be a price that hits than to be very optimistic and have it not hit. So can IREN go much more than 20? Maybe, if the market wants to take it there. I'm not saying it will, though. What I'm happy with is I'm happy with by next summer, if IREN's $20, I'm definitely going to be taking my profits. Follow the cycle. I personally think these Bitcoin miners nor Bitcoin has topped out yet. They will, in my opinion, top out sometime in 2025. Maybe it's similar to past cycles where it's like the end of 2025. Maybe it's more like the middle of 2025. Maybe it's early 2025. That's why you get in during the bear market. You accumulate while things like IREN are $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, and you sell into strength. You don't look for just the top. You don't just sell in one time. You sell throughout a couple months maybe. You sell on signs of bearish divergence while we're rallying. Look over here for an example. We saw a huge bearish divergence and this marked the top for IREN. We will probably see something like this again. You saw the RSI top out and start falling here. However, you saw the price actually go higher. Huge bearish divergence, and that did mark the top. Of course, also very overbought. But one thing to realize is just because you're overbought doesn't necessarily mean you should sell right away. I mean, because look at this. It was overbought here. It was overbought right here at 8, and then what did it do? It just kind of consolidated for a second, and then it ran another 100%. So just because something's overbought doesn't mean you should sell necessarily. But when you're getting multiple signs, when something's overbought plus you're getting bearish divergences on longer term time frames, when you're looking at a pattern and it's actually breaking out of a crazy pattern like this, a huge megaphone pattern, huge broadening pattern, just look for signs and you will know when to take profits. When everyone and their mama is bullish, when everyone on WEBULL is extremely bullish and there are like no bears in sight, that is when you should be taking profits. When everyone expects Bitcoin to keep running, IREN to go to $50, Bitcoin to go to 500,000. That's probably when Bitcoin's 150, maybe 200,000 at that point, and that is when you want to be taking profits. Follow the cycle. If Bitcoin is 200,000 and we're nearing the end of 2025, you should probably be taking profits and realize that we are probably not going to see 500K this cycle. If Bitcoin somehow reaches 100,000 by the end of this year and early 2025 rallies to 200, 300,000 somehow, maybe there's a possibility of a 500K Bitcoin. I don't expect it. I am not holding out for it, but you got to just follow the cycle. You got to roll with the punches. Things are going to change over the next couple of months, and you'll have to adjust your price targets, adjust where you expect things to go as we get closer and closer to the end of the cycle, as it gets more and more clear where the top may be. But thanks as always for watching, guys. What do you think about these Bitcoin miners? How much more juice do you think they have left? Do you think IREN is still a 10x from here? How many multiples do you expect out of Bitcoin? Do you think Bitcoin will 10x, 5x? I think it's very reasonable to expect a 2 to 3x from Bitcoin from here, which would mean right around a 10x from the bottom. I think that's reasonable to expect. But what say you? Always interested in your opinions. Thanks as always for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.